to another edition of the Stench of Truth. With a little brevity, I'll start off by giving a movie review on No Country for Old Men. The Coen brothers have come through again with another modern masterpiece. Very much like Fargo, very fast-paced, action-packed. Great acting performances by everybody in this movie. I don't want to spoil it by giving away anything. The synopsis is basically this: a man comes across some money, takes it, and a lot of bad stuff happens as a result of that. As I said, the acting is really great in this movie. The movie is very fast-paced. It might run a little bit long, but it's well worth it. I recommend it. So if you have a chance, watch it. No Country for Old Men. Very good movie. I see in the news there's been some talk about pastor or preacher Jeremiah Wright, who is the spiritual mentor of Barack Obama. And quite rightly so, because he is spouting anti-white speech, black nationalism, and some other highly controversial and racist ideas. This has caused me to comment to myself, and now to you, that if the situation was reversed and it was a white candidate who belonged to a Christian identity church who spouted anti-black propaganda and white nationalism, the hue and cry and mayhem in the mainstream media against that candidate would be tumultuous. There would be countless groups demanding that that person step down or resign or quit or whatever. It's just the way things are. And I defy anybody to tell me it's different. This is the way it is today. This reverse racism idea. It's barely commented on. And while this may be in the news today, it'll be gone in no time at all, and it'll be rendered a non-issue. If the situation was reversed, the pressure would stay on. The mainstream media and all of these other civil rights groups would be out there demanding, pounding their fists on the table, demanding that this horrible racist white candidate be removed from the political process as soon as possible because of the divisive hate speech that comes from his spiritual mentor. But when it comes to Barack Obama and Jeremiah Wright, people might ask, is this appropriate? Is this a big deal? It doesn't even matter whether it's a big deal. It's a double standard that shouldn't be. It's not something that should be allowed to be happening. But it is, and that's the way it is. And that's the way it's going to keep being in this great country of ours. And think about No Country for Old Men. What a great title for a movie. Because this country is no country for old men. This country is no good for any man. No good for women. No good for children. No good for anybody. Because of the road we're on and where we're traveling to and where we've been from. I can't stand the things that this country represents today. We used to be a great country. We can be a great country again. But I can't abide whenever I see things like this happen, where we have this preacher, this pastor, who goes on and on about how blacks need to have their own so-called homeland here in this country, and how he lambastes white people and causes them for, or blames them for all of black people's miseries. And it's barely commented on. It's barely an issue. It's barely an issue. And I think the mainstream media was probably guilted into running the very merest slight little stories about it. But check out Jeremiah Wright right here on YouTube, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about if you're not already familiar with it. And I say to you again, I defy anybody to tell me that if the situation was reversed and it was a white candidate, that there would not be people practically rioting in the streets to have that guy thrown out and removed from the political process. But instead, it merely registers a slight blip in the radar in mainstream news. And mark my words, in a few short days, or maybe a week, week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, this story will be dead. You won't hear about it again. I guarantee it. Even though it has very far-reaching implications. Or do you want a president to be in office who has a spiritual mentor, someone who disparages a great deal of the population of the country that he is supposed to represent when he gets into office? Why don't you think about that? While you're at it, why don't you think about the miserable economy too? Because not only is this no country for old men and no country for people, it's no country to live in, where the federal government is allowing the dollar to fall precipitously, to enter a free fall to where it's going to be worth practically nothing in no time at all, and nothing is being done about it. And the White House press secretary, when asked at a press conference about the dollar, said that she couldn't even talk about it. It's the purview of the Treasury, she says. She can't even mention it for fear of being fired. What the fuck is that all about? How can you have a White House press secretary who's forbidden to talk about something as essential and vital to this country and our economy than the dollar itself? And she can't talk about it? Or she'll be fired? What the hell is that? Gold is up into record levels. Commodities are up into record levels. Wheat is growing in prices. It makes me wonder about the end times of the so-called revelations in the Bible, where they talk about how much wheat will cost and how much other certain commodities will cost in the end times, as a sign of where we are in the grand scheme of things. I don't know about all that, but what I do know is the shit is hitting the fan in this country. And I don't think all of the shit that they've been doing to try to cover up and patch all of the numerous problems that have been going on in this country has done any good. All the patches, all the cover-ups, everything is starting to fall off, and the ugly core underneath is being exposed. So you might want to think long and hard about who you want to have represent you in the White House, especially if you are thinking about any of the three major candidates, because there's not a one of them that has your best interests at heart, and there's not a one of them that is not going to be a plaything to the corporate elite. And don't be fooled by any of them, especially Obama, who talks a great game, and I'll give him huge and high marks for being a great and enthusiastic speaker, for being a motivator. But I can't abide someone who has a spiritual mentor who hates me and blames me for things I never did, could not control, and cannot change. And I don't want someone like that as my president. No country for old men, indeed. No country for anybody. See the movie and think about the title and what it really means to this country today. Because we truly live in a country that's no country for old men. No country for anybody. Until we can go back to some semblance of the greatness that we once represented.